Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for Answers for Life. And I'm going to be dealing with a subject tonight that it's going to be interesting, or it was to me when making preparations to do this program. I thought of all the pros and cons and so forth. But let me just ask you a question on the onset before we even begin. When is the last time you had a good belly laugh? You just really laughed out loud. You know, some people snort, some people smile, some people laugh out loud. I know you've got friends that just have different styles of laughing. But I'm going to be talking about tonight the benefits of having a merry heart, the benefits of laughing, the benefits of having a good time. You say, well, Christians, you know, if you aren't careful, some people will make you believe that being a Christian makes you long-faced, sad, sour, nothing's going right. But I find it just to be opposite. Now, this is Answers for Life, so we're going to be talking about one subject tonight that I believe is an answer. And I want you to write me at the number, it will be on the bottom of your screen, 337 Farmington Road in Somerville. And I've got a booklet that I'm going to send you this week if you'll write me. It's Discovering the Healing Power of Laughter. And if you write to me this week or send me a note, I will send you this little booklet, postpaid, free. I just want you to have it. There's healing in laughter. There's something about laughter, and I'm going to be sharing that with you in a few moments, that what that healing really is. And you say, well, God is serious. God has a sense of humor. I mean, I could start at Genesis and go through Revelation and share with you many, many incidences where it shows that God has a sense of humor. I mean, one reason, look at us. When you look at the wide variety, when you look at the creation of the earth. Now, I've never tested this. I won't test it. I'll take the word of some others that take the time. I don't know how they did this, but they say if there's trillions and trillions of snowflakes, but every one of them is different. Well, I don't know. If they say that, I can accept that. But I know this. There's over 6 billion people alive on the face of the earth. And the thumbprint, the fingerprint, none of them is identical. They're all different. Now they're doing voice taping. Nobody has the same voice. There's a difference. Now, God made us. He created us. And God is, you know, if you want to see a little bit of humor, look in the Exodus where Moses is leading the children out of Egypt after 400 years of being in bondage and slavery in Egypt. God has raised up Moses delivering them out. And you know the story, 40 years. Of course, the 40 years was out of their own doing. 90 days out of Egypt, they stood on the Mount Moriah, looked down the valley across the Jordan, and God said, there's the land, go and possess it. But they didn't know whether they could trust God or not, and they sent out some spies. And the spies come back, and there was 12 of them. 10 of them said, oh man, the people in that country, the men are like giants. We'll be like grasshoppers under their feet. But there was 2 of them that said, yeah, there's giants in the land, and there's walled cities, and it won't be easy, but we can take the land. Why? Because God said we could do it. Joshua and Caleb said we can go in and possess the land. Well, they moved by democracy, which is not a very good, you know, some people say our government is democracy. No, we're a republic. We're not a democracy. We're a republic. But anyway, they had democracy, and so they didn't go. And they spent 39 years and 9 months wandering in the wilderness. And then after 39 years and 9 months, came back to the very spot where they were coming out of Egypt. And they went down the hill that time, across the Jordan. They possessed the land. The first thing that they come up against was Jericho, and God miraculously just destroyed the walls of that city. And guess who was leading them? Joshua and Caleb. And not one person that was over 20 years old Other than Joshua and Caleb, not one person that was over 20 years old left Egypt that went into Canaan. Now, what does that tell us? If we don't trust God, we're not going to enjoy the benefits of life. You got to trust God. But during that 40 years, it's kind of comical almost if you read it, because every time Moses would get mad with the people, he'd say, God, your people that you brought out of Egypt. And every time God got angry with the people, he would say to Moses, your people that you brought out of Egypt. God blamed Moses and Moses blamed God. But it came to a head one day, and God just said, Moses, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. If you just get out of the way, I'm going to wipe them off the face of the earth. Here's the faith that Moses had. Moses said, God, you told me to do this, and I'm doing the best I can. So if you're going to wipe them off the face of the earth, just wipe me off along with it. And you know, God spared the people. He did. Listen, God has a sense of humor, and he wants us to develop a way of enjoying life. Now, I know you may be going through a divorce. Your child might not be speaking to you. You could have family problems. You could have financial problems. And your neighbor might be cussing your dog and everything else going wrong. But I want to tell you something. You can develop an attitude that will raise your altitude. In other words, life can be enjoyable, but you've got to be able to find it. And in the midst of every terrible situation, God can bring relief. And happiness is one of the ways. I want to share with you something. A lady by the name of Caroline Leaf wrote the book, Who Switched Off My Brain. And on page 5, she makes this statement. Now, this is a lady that is, I consider to be one of the world's foremost brain specialists. She's from South Africa. And here's what she says. Research shows that around 87% of illnesses can be attributed to our thought life, and approximately 13% to diet, genetics, and environment. I want that to soak in. That only perhaps 13% of our illnesses and sicknesses is really attributed by our lifestyle of diet, attitude of people that we are around, and environment. Up to 87% of physical illnesses is directly related to the way we think. Why do you think God spent so much time in the Word encouraging us to be happy? Jesus laughed. You know, a few years ago, an artist, painted a picture and titled it, The Laughing Jesus. And when I saw that picture, for the first time, I saw a picture of Jesus that I really could digest and take in. Because Jesus was an outdoorsman. He spent a lot of times outdoors. He liked camping out. He liked going out into the forest by himself. He liked going and just hanging out on the seashore. He liked cooking on the edge of the seashore. Jesus was an outdoorsman. And he went with his disciples. And he had a good time with his disciples. I believe they laughed and they enjoyed it. Was he serious? Sure, he was serious. He knew his purpose in life. But he said, we need to enjoy life. Let me tell you, if you don't think God has a sense of humor, this may be a little raw, but let me share it with you. In the Old Testament, when the Ark of the Covenant was kept, they put it into the temple of Ashdod. Well, the next morning when they got up, Ashdod was on his face on the floor, and they realized the Ark of the Covenant can't be in the presence of another God without that other God being destroyed. So they said to David, Israel, come get the Ark of the Covenant and take it out of here. And he told them how to do it. He said, just lead them out, and if the cows start mooing and begging to come back, then you keep going. But the people, the army there, decided, they changed their mind and decided they wouldn't let them leave with the Ark of the Covenant, because they had been blessed. Wherever the Ark of the Covenant was, the people were blessed. Let me tell you something. Where the presence of God is, you're going to be blessed. And even though they were heathens and didn't really believe in Jehovah God, yet because the Ark of the Covenant was there, the land was blessed. So they got to thinking about this. They said, bring it back. And they went and thought they could capture it. And God caused them to have emeralds. Now, if you don't know what that is, look it up. But I'll spell it out for you. It's hemorrhoids. Now, just think about it. If you don't think God has a sense of humor, here's an army that decided they wanted to defy God, and God just said, okay, I'll fix you. And he caused every man there to have hemorrhoids. I don't believe you can fight very good with those. Now, if you don't think that's a sense of humor, you just think about it for just a moment. God, listen, I want to read for you from Proverbs. And I want you to let this soak in. In Proverbs, I'm going to read first from the 15th chapter of Proverbs, beginning with verse 13. A happy face means a glad heart, and a sad face means a breaking heart. Now, some people can be what we call stone-faced. I'm not. If I'm happy, it shows in my face. If I'm sad, it shows in my face. If I'm mad, it shows in my face. My features just reflect my heart. And some people are like that. That's the reason I told somebody one time I could never be a lawyer, because I just couldn't sit there and have the other guy stand up and just really low rate and call me a liar. And I don't think I could hardly do that. But it says, a wise man, listen to this, a wise man is hungry for truth. I'm talking to you about some answers for life this morning, or tonight, rather. I'm talking to you about some answers that you can find, and one of those answers is developing a way to laugh. Now, I love to laugh. I'll be honest with you. If I've got to frown or laugh, I'm going to choose laughing, because there's something, and I'm going to be sharing with you how that can happen. But listen, better a little reverence with God than great treasures. It is better to eat soup. I like this. Now, this is verse 17, chapter 15 of Proverbs, just to let you know that I'm not making this up. It is better to eat soup with someone you love than steak with somebody you hate. It's better to eat soup, bean soup, chili soup. It's better to eat soup with somebody that you enjoy their presence than eat steak with somebody that you don't like them. Now, does that mean you got to have people you can't associate with? No, it doesn't mean that. But it means you can stake out your friends. I know some people say, well, we shouldn't have these little cliques, and we shouldn't have people that we're closer to than we are others. Well, Jesus did. He had 12 disciples that he chose out of hundreds. And out of that 12, he had 3 that was kind of an inner circle, Peter, James, and John. And then out of that, he had 1 that was called the beloved disciple, John. So, and Jesus was with these disciples, and they enjoyed it. Listen, I want you to look again in chapter 17. Proverbs chapter 17, and looking at verse 22. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit is like dried bones. A wicked man taketh the gift out of the bosom to pervert the ways of judgment. Now, but I want you to get that verse 22. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine. You know, one of the large demands for medications today are tranquilizers, relaxers, medicine that fool the brain into believing everything's okay when it's not okay. A false sense of security, a false sense of happiness or joy or peace. Well, that's not what I'm talking to you about tonight. I'm not talking about a false sense of merriment. I'm not talking about a false sense of security. I'm talking about a real, true sense of security. Did you know that in the facial muscles and in the facial bone structure, that it takes a lot more energy to frown than it does to smile? It takes less muscle movement to smile than to frown. Now, laughter is something that you say, well, I don't have anything to laugh about. Oh, yes, you do. Now, I know I spend my days, I'm a counselor, and I spend my life sharing with people who are in deep trouble. I have average of around 30 appointments a week where I'm talking with people who are going through divorce. I'm talking with families that are split and divided. I'm talking with individuals who have lost everything. And you know, I sit at my table sometimes. I talk with people who make $300,000 or $400,000 a year. And then I talk with people who make $10,000 or $12,000 a year. Did you know the anxiety, the stress, the depression is the same? The figures are just different. In other words, the one that's making $300,000 or $400,000 a year, they're trying to live on $500,000. The one making 10 or 12 is trying to live on 15 or 16,000. The stress, the anxiety is the same. It's just that the figures are different. And see, sometimes we think our circumstances is why we're so sad or we're so depressed. Why do you think David could tell us in his words, lift up ye heads, lift up your heads, O ye gates, and the King of glory shall come in. See, happiness, love, these things, they're not circumstances, they're decisions. You make a decision to love somebody, and you make a decision to be happy. Listen, Dr. Arnett Goodhart said, the reality isn't that we laugh because we're happy. I want you to get this. This is Dr. Arnett Goodhart, one of the prolific writers concerning human psychology. And he said, the truth isn't that we laugh because we're happy. We're happy because we laugh. Have you ever had the doldrums? I mean, you had the mullygrubs, a good case of them, and you got in the presence of somebody and they were just happy and laughing, and before you know it, you're laughing? It's a decision. My little great-grand, and every great-granddaddy, just like granddad is, their child. I told somebody one time in the ministry years and years ago when my daughter got married and had our first grandchild, and I said, I'm not going to be one of these braggadocious, proud preachers that talk about their granddaddies and talk about their grandchild and just, you know, I'm just not going to be that. But that was before I knew I was going to have the most beautiful, perfect granddaughters. And then I just couldn't. Now it's a great-grand. And last night, I held that beautiful little great-grand of mine, and her eyes are so big, and she looked me straight in the eyes and just smiled at me. Do you think that I had a care in the world when that little 5-month-old baby looked me in the eyes and smiled at her great-granddaddy? Listen, let the world do whatever they want to do. That brings healing. It brings that feeling of peace. Consider what happens when we laugh. Now, I want to share this with you because this is in the little book that I want to send you if you write me. It says, when we laugh, we kick our immune system into gear. You know what your immune system is? That's what guards you against getting all these viruses and germs and all that. According to Brian Luke Seward, a PhD in writing and health progresses, it stabilizes blood pressure. It massages the inner organs. It facilitates digestion. It increases the oxygen supply to the body. It supplies muscles with the secretions of energy levels. It demotes tension, and it promotes an overall sense of well-being. See, you have trillions of a little thing in your body called peptides that coat the inside of your organs and blood vessels and so forth. And it protects, because see, your body is full of germs and viruses. Matter of fact, I can, like that, you can't imagine how many germs I just took into my body doing that. And you have them too. You have cancer cells, germs that are constantly, thousands floating through your body continually. Now, those peptides keep those germs and cancer cells from attaching to the walls of your organs or your blood vessels. Now, let's say you get really uptight, tense, mad, and your body kind of goes into, well, you know how you do when you get real mad. You get tense, you just get, you get angry, your system, your muscles tense, and all of this. All right, that can affect those little peptides. Let's say a cancer cell is floating out of your esophagus into your stomach, and you get real mad with somebody, you get real upset, you get real tense, and it can hinder the movement of those peptides just about the time that cancer cell is going into the stomach, and it will attach to the stomach wall. Now, it can still get cleaned off later, but it might not. And then that cancer cell will grow into a tumor, and after a while can become a full-grown cancer. Why? Because of your attitude, stress, tenseness, anger that cause that movement of those peptides. Listen, going back to what Caroline Leaf wrote in this book, Who Switched Off My Brain? Up to 78% of physical illnesses can be directly attributed to the way you think, your thought life. That's why God told us, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. Listen, if you don't have anything to laugh about, go out and buy a Mark Lowry DVD or something, put it on and listen to it and laugh. Your system goes into a positive convulsion when you laugh. Your system works, your brain works, it stimulates the brain. See, it takes more blood to operate your brain than the rest of your entire body. It takes 1.5 pints of blood every minute flowing through. See, your brain makes up 2% of your body weight, but it requires, listen to this now, it requires over 80% of the energy of your body. Weighs 2% of your body weight, but consumes over 80% of the body energy. Now think about something, that it absorbs 80% plus of the energies produced in your body. Now think if that energy is negative. 80% of the energy of your life, if it's negative, can you imagine what kind of negative effect that's going to have on you as a person? But think, if it's positive energy. See, you can take two magnets and you can turn them right and they will attach to a piece of metal or something. But you take those two magnets, face each other, and try to push them together. They'll resist it. They'll push back because the magnets are pushing against each other, and they're not designed for you to put those together like that. They will push apart. When you create the right attitude, when you create a positive attitude, when your thinking is there, when laughter comes from your heart, and you find something funny and you can laugh about it, that's like turning those magnets around and putting a positive effect on your system. Because when you're happy, when you're laughing, it releases the negative energies. See, your body has to cleanse. You remember I was talking just a while ago? Your body is full of viruses and negatives and toxics. Well, one of the worst things that can destroy you is toxic energy from your thinking, your attitude, the way that you conduct yourself can produce toxic that can poison your system. And see, those toxic chemicals, they have to be cleansed out of your blood system and put out of your body. If it don't, it can create problems within you. For instance, medical experts tells us that 3 to 5 minutes, I want you to get this. 3 to 5 minutes of belly laughing equals 3 minutes of strenuous exercise. So if you don't like to do strenuous exercise, if you don't like to run, belly laugh. This is medical experts that have said this. Now listen to this. Zen Buddhists believe that 15 minutes of laughter is equivalent to 6 to 8 hours of meditation. So I'm telling you, I've got a solution. If you don't like exercise, if you don't like getting out and walking or running, learn how to laugh. You'll get the physical benefits from laughter that's there. Now, former magazine editor Norman Cousins is living proof that laughter can heal. He became crippled with problems, disease in his life. Now, this is a true story. You can read it. Look up on your Google Norman Cousins, and you can see this story. That he was dying with all kinds of things wrong in his body. He started watching old episodes of the Marx Brothers and Candid Camera. And watching the Marx Brothers and Candid Camera produced such an element of laughter in his system, and he laughed so much that within a few months, almost all of the sicknesses and pains that he was going through with just left his body. You say, well, that's strange. Didn't I read to you right here? Proverbs. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine. Why do we take medicine? To heal our bodies. Well, God gave us a prescription. You take a prescription, you have it filled. And God gave us a prescription. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine. So look at laughter as a prescription from God to get better with whatever ails you. Learn to laugh. Learn to laugh at yourself. Learn to laugh at life. You say, well, I don't have anything to laugh about. Well, maybe you need to just roll back the curtains and look at the rest of the world around you and realize that whatever condition you're in, you've got a lot to be thankful for. And you've got a lot to be happy about. And write me this week. Let me send you this little book. 337 Farmington Road, Summerville, South Carolina, Discovering the Healing Power of Laughter. I'll be glad to send it to you free of charge if you'll just write me. And if you have a question or something you'd like for us discussed, feel free to do that. I'm doing this as a result of something someone asked me about. But God bless you. Thank you for listening tonight, and join us again next week. God bless you.